Well, it's the top of the hour. So, welcome everybody to Mobile Assistance Partner Series. So excited for this one. I have the pleasure of having Rick Williamson, aka Ricky Redtail, aka Richard Orion. Thanks so much for joining me, Rick. This is going to be so much fun.
Dude, of course, man. It's my pleasure. I'll show up. You asked me to do something, I'll show up to it. I love this stuff. I love the integrations that we have. Like, not only do I like working with you as like an individual, and we've worked together for at least a decade, if not more, but like I really enjoy and think that the integration that we provide, the tools that we provide are incredibly, incredibly helpful, not just logistically, but also just like in a peace of mind type way. So I'm always excited to talk about it.
Well, I love having you on here. Redtail, for those of you that don't know, was Mobile Assistant's very first integration. And so, like honestly, a little bit ahead of its time. Our integration now is 12 years old, which is crazy to say. But we recognized so quickly both of our companies that it made a lot of sense for us to partner so that the notes that were getting captured by the advisors out there that were using Redtail's CRM, it was so important to have an easy way to efficiently capture the data and do it in a way that was done accurately and seamlessly right into the CRM. And so I'm so proud of the fact that there was that innovation so many years ago that we just figured out a way to work together so that we could make sure that our companies like partnered in a way that really just knocked it out of the park for the advisor community because it's such a great integration.
Yeah,
I appreciate that so much.
of course, man. I mean, it makes a ton of sense, as we get, as you and I keep doing this, it's weird to do one thing long enough to be able to see it evolve, right? And when you came on the spot, like dictation was just the beginning of the game. Like it was just getting started. And now with the rise of AI, with this huge boost in efficiency that we're seeing, I see interest coming back around for dictation because people are looking at ways to cut down on the amount of busy work that they have to do, the amount of logistics, the amount of the typing, all of that kind of stuff. And you were one of the first ones. There's no bigger time waster. I mean, I'm sure there are much bigger time wasters, but there's no bigger time waster than having to sit and type everything. I know you and I have talked with people hate it, who hate it with a passion. And so being able to take that out of the equation, not only with mobile assistant, but then to be able to transpose that into Redtail in not just one way, but multiple ways, so that it is then housed in your CRM, your FINRA and SEC compliant, your secure data hub. That's cooking with gasoline.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And like when I think about the way that the advisor community has looked at dictation over the years, it is evolved so much because there used to be a time when it would save me time, right? It's going
Sure.
to be more efficient, easy way to get the notes into Redtail. Was really the focus for so many years on why dictation was valuable. I tell you what, in the last 12 months, the topic has changed, and it's not that it's just a time saver. It's the accuracy of data and the importance of how that data is structured and captured. That is at the forefront, and it's because of honestly, it's because of the emergence of all these AI tools out there
Yeah.
that I think advisors are starting to realize, like, hey, this is important. It's important to really add this technology that can really help me. But the emphasis now that a lot of advisors are starting to understand, a lot of, especially the organizations are, is the importance of not just how the data gets into the CRM, but how is it accurate? And is it guaranteed accurate? Is there a
Right.
human component to ensuring the accuracy? And that's where we fit in. And so we've definitely found ourselves at the seat of the table that's changed so much over the years. And now it's all about the data. It's all about the accuracy of the data.
Absolutely, man. I just saw a TikTok last night that our good friend Aubrey Jones, who's one of our trainers here at Redtail, sent me, that really broke down the math behind large language models and AI processing. And if you ask it a question like how many R's are in the word strawberry, what's really funny is that is the current question that is making AI screw up. AI will tell it, oh, there's only 2 R's in the word strawberry. It's not, there's 3. But because of the way AI works, because it breaks down each word in your sentence into a variable or a potential variable, like it's really just guessing. It's really like, it's very intelligently guessing. It's making very educated guesses based on the language it has been fed and taught on, but not nearly in the same way as it is a human being actually hearing your words and actually knowing it and processing it. Like it's still, it's really cool, but it's not there yet. So to your point, like the human factor, I don't know if it'll ever be fully removed. I think there are a lot of people out here who want to and who think that would be amazing, but there's always the risk of a hallucination, or there's always the risk of the math machine that is hidden behind all of these AI bots of not being right. So I love the fact that somebody hears it, somebody can articulate it, they can hear the patterns in the speech, they hear where periods are, like all that kind of stuff makes this that much more valuable.
Well, Rick, if everyone that's on this webinar today goes away with one like nugget that they remember, I'm going to give it to them right now, and it's called contextual data. And so that what you just described, okay, the ability for the notes to be delivered back in a way that takes into account the context, the perspective of the person that was actually speaking and how that got translated. That's what it means. It's the contextual data that's so important today. And it's something that's easy to lose track of, because just like you can use Siri for, voice to text, and there's a lot of other tools that you can use. Like if it's not contextual, if you don't have
Right.
that human in the loop part of the process, you lose so much. And
Right.
I tell you, Rick, I could talk about this for hours. I really could. And we do actually have some fun, like interesting, like things to really show everybody today. And so I hate to cut off that conversation, because I think we could really talk about it for hours. But
Do it for the full hour, like
all right. But let's
just the
let's
whole
go
idea
ahead,
of it
and I'm
all.
gonna go ahead and share my screen, and we're gonna get into some very much some specifics that I think everyone will appreciate. Okay. Um, so the topic today, when I thought about all the different things that we really could discuss, Rick, and there's a lot of them, everything from AI to the best movies out there, and what do we think of Deadpool, right? I
Oh my
mean,
gosh,
we,
it's so
uh,
good.
we could definitely get into a lot of different topics, but this is when I really thought about how the mobile assistant and Redtail integration has become so valuable all these years. It really gets down to the two things that I think that our companies do really, really well. And for it to start, the integrated template driven, that's mobile assistant. That's
Mm.
the templates that are used to capture the data from the client interactions and that get delivered to Redtail for the customer or client engagement workflow. And that's what Redtail does so amazing. And so I thought, how about we marry those two things? Because that's what we've been talking about for years of what we're really accomplishing. So I thought that was a great place to start.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's an intersection of strategy, tools, process, like all of that comes together where it's like, cool, okay, we have our process built in now. What tools are we going to use to execute that? All right, cool. What is our strategy going forward? So I love this type of conversation.
Awesome. So I really thought that a great place to start for this presentation was to start with a quote that is from one of our best partners. So Allworth Financial has incorporated mobile assistant into their infrastructure at their firm years ago. And one of the things that Scott Hansen from Allworth has said is that decades ago an advisor would have had a capacity of 100 clients. And today it's 250 or 300. And this is like 6 months old. I bet that number is more like 350 or 400 now. And the reason is not because advisors have just become like busier, that they put more hours in their day, right? It comes down to the technology that they're using and incorporating.
Hmm.
And so that's where I think it's so interesting when you think about what the impact is that technology and integrations like our two tools really accomplish. One of the biggest things that it does is it makes advisors more efficient. And so you're going to be able to have client engagement like you couldn't before, that allows you to service more clients. And at the end of the day, that's how we grow. That's the scalability, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, man. I mean, we've been building efficiency ever since the first human was born, created, crawled out of the slime, whatever your particular, belief system says the first human did. Like the second we figured out fire, we increased our efficiency. The second we figured out the wheel, we increased our efficiency. The compass, the printing press, humans have been constantly trying to increase their efficiency, and we're constantly being able to add more and more to this. So not only is it a factor of being able to serve more, but with all this time you're getting, it allows you to serve better, right? And it allows you to build those relationships, which we're going to talk about a little bit more.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. I love it. And so like I love to start with this. And then the next logical like slide is really interesting because for those on this call that haven't heard of this, I think most probably have. Michael Kitces has an amazing fintech map that he started years ago. And it has evolved, I guess a good is the only way to put it. You could say exploded.
Grown
But it
exponentially.
it's amazing what has happened to the fintech map in this industry. And so one of the things that I have tried to recognize is that when we tell advisors, listen, technology is what's going to help you. It's what's going to help you scale. It's what's going to help you with your client engagement. It's one thing to say that, and then for advisors to be expected to go out and look at this map and be like, where do I start? Right? It's daunting. It's overwhelming. I get a little bit like woozy just looking at this thing, and that's what we do. We're in this industry, right? But one of the things that I always want to make sure that we get through to advisors when we talk about these kind of maps and the amount of tech that's available for their practice is that you're not in it alone. Right?
Mm.
Advisors we're not expecting advisors to go out and pick the things that are integrated, that work the best together. So one of the things that I try to encourage everyone when they think about what their tech stack looks like is that leverage the companies that you're using. If you're using Redtail, utilize Redtail with the integrations and talk to their client experience team. Right? If you're using Mobile Assistant, we have a client experience team that will walk through how to build templates and how to make it even a better part of your practice. And it's free. It's part of the experience of using a service like ours and using Redtail. So that's one of the takeaways that I try to make sure to try to put everybody at ease a little bit
Sure.
after everybody's blood pressure goes up after seeing this, right? So yeah, I don't know what you think of it, Rick, but it's pretty crazy.
I mean, it is. It's crazy. I mean, it's cool, right? It's cool that advisors have all of these options. It's a little bit like looking at the menu at the Cheesecake Factory, where it's like, oh my gosh, how do they have spaghetti and orange chicken on the same menu? That's upsetting. But when you're looking at this kind of stuff, I think Corey, you bring up an excellent point, which is like number one, look at the connectivity that it offers. But number two, look at what the additional like accoutrement you get out of that relationship is. I'm looking at the CRM section and I see a dozen, if not more, CRMs that do a lot of the same thing. Now they do it in different ways, right? They do it in ways that might feel more user friendly to one person than the other. Some aesthetics of certain products and technology feel better. For example, I like working on my Mac. I like everything Apple related. When I get on a Windows program, I feel like I'm using an alien technology, right? So when it comes to like aesthetics, obviously advisors and people in this industry, they should be looking for what feels good. But beyond that, they should be looking at what else they're getting out of this relationship. So for your example, they can reach out to Redtail and to Mobile Assistant and actually work with our teams on not just utilizing the tool better, but being better in their practice, helping them realize that they're maybe not recording all the things that they should be recording, and that should be put in a template, or working with our training team to not just learn how to add stuff into the CRM, but how to actually build better relationships, strategies that people can use to connect with their clients on a deeper, more emotional level. That's where I think we step it up a lot. The fact that we offer webinars based on practice management, the fact that our trainers are not just point and click trainers. They are, they're not practice management experts by any way of education, but by pure experience. Look
Yeah.
at what you're getting out of that relationship. Look and see if that is just a tool that you're paying for. If you're just going to Home Depot and buying a hammer, cool. But if you're looking for something to really help you grow, some of these services offer that and some of them don't. And I think that that's a really important thing to look at when you're trying to navigate this Cheesecake Factory menu of tech.
Yeah. Wow. Do I love that, Rick? One of the things that I focused on when you were discussing that is the idea of leveraging the experience of a company like Redtail and a company like Mobile Assistant and what we've learned over the 12 years of integrating together. I tell you what, we between the two of us and our companies, we have worked with thousands of advisors, right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
so we've worked with thousands of advisors to come up with best practices of how to make the integration specifically between Mobile Assistant and Redtail the most efficient and for you to get the most out of it. So one of the things that just comes to mind is like, why would you try to figure that out on your own? Like that's
Yeah.
what we're here for. We have the blueprint. We have the blueprint of what works when it comes to dictation and processing of notes and putting them into Redtail and workflows and activities and how do you make all that work? We're going to be able to work through that whole process with you because we've done it thousands of times and we know what works for advisors. So I think that's great, Rick. And definitely, again, it kind of goes back to leveraging the teams of the client experiences that you have at Redtail and Mobile Assistant. So
For sure, man. Absolutely.
now, this next slide is kind of interesting. So I'm going to let you take it away here for a little bit, Rick. But like one of the things I always try to be cognizant of is like when we have these webinars is like it's easy to just assume everybody knows who Redtail is, everybody knows who Mobile Assistant is, and they just came to listen to you and I, chat about the coolest emerging tech.
Right.
That's not always the case. Sometimes there are people on this call that maybe don't know about Redtail. They don't know what makes you different, and either they're using a different CRM, God forbid they're not using one at all. That could be possible. But I'd like to give the opportunity to kind of introduce Redtail for the first time for those that might not know you real well. So let's start. Let's start there, and you take it away.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been doing this for I think I'm coming up on year 14, I think. I started with Redtail in 2011, which is crazy to think about. And Redtail has been around for gosh, I think we're on our like 23rd or 24th year now of being in the industry. And we have been for the last decade or so, one of the most widely used, widely adopted piece of technology in the financial services industry. We are all about CRM. And a lot of people think CRM stands for client relationship management, and that is not untrue. But we really try to focus on it as a contact relationship management tool, and the fact that you have more relationships than just your clients. Like Corey, you're not my client, dude, but you're my part. You're an amazing partner. You're a great friend. This is a relationship that was facilitated through our business needs, but is a relationship. And if people just use their CRMs to track clients, like that's such a limited scope of what they should be doing. But again, the whole purpose of it is to systematize that relationship that you might have with your best friend or a close colleague or a loved one, a spouse, whatever, and try to systematize that in a way so that your 100 clients, your 200 clients, your 300 clients, however many clients you have, feel that same level of emotional connection. And that is usually in the details. Obviously, it's really important for financial professionals to track their calendar activities and do note taking, compliant note taking, which is the whole name of the game of this webinar here. But there are so much more. There is so much more that goes into building a relationship, the things that we like, the things that we don't like. I always encourage people to use Redtail to track the things that we quote unquote choose to waste our time on, as my dad would call it. It's the stuff that we choose to do in our free time, the sports teams that we love, the soda that we like to drink, the pet's name. People get really, really tribal and really, really connected and protective of the things that they love. And if you can find a way to engage with your clients on those things, then that builds a deeper, more personal, more satisfying relationship all around. And that's a huge part of what Redtail does. We've been my favorite part is that even though we got bought by Orion 2 years ago, we are still integrated and still building integrations, much like with yourself and Mobile Assistant, but with other integration partners so that we can be that like plug and play center of your business. We can be that plug and play beating heart of what you're doing. If you're using a CRM, great. If you're not using a CRM, you should be using a CRM, not Outlook, not a spreadsheet, an actual client relationship or contact relationship management tool, because it helps bring all of that together for not just you, but for your team as well. And obviously, I think relationships are really important. I drink the Kool-Aid, but I do think that it is really, really cool that we try to help people connect,
Well, Rick, it's
a little
like
bit deeper.
yeah, that's so good. And like when I think about what Redtail does, like it really is the hub of the relationship data, right?
Absolutely.
And like because it is the hub, that what that means to me is that all the other tools that you may have as an advisor, it all centers around this because this is where it all starts. It all
Right.
starts and ends with the relationship like tools that are in here and the data that you have put in and the work you put in to build the relationships. This is where it has to be. It has to be reflective of all that work you've done building those relationships, right? In real life, they
Yeah.
have to come to life in the CRM because that's where you're going to be able to actually really utilize that data. And so that's 100% the hub of the relationship data.
Absolutely. So many people, especially in this industry, they spend their time focusing on the accounts. The account's the most important thing, the portfolio. We got to balance it. We got to make sure it's working and fixing. And like that's what financial advisors are good at. That's what makes their brains feel good. Like putting the right numbers in the right places to get the right result. Like that's awesome. But that is just the conduit of your relationship. That is not the relationship. Your client, your people, the people you are working with are your relationship. And so yes, you can move the numbers around and you can make that portfolio grow and you can build wealth. But like cool, man, an app can do that nowadays.
Right.
What builds relationships? What builds that human connection? It's the details. And we
Well,
help with that.
and I tell you, I'm obviously a big champion of Redtail because I know what was put into it behind the scenes all these years. Like, as like Rick, this, some on the call might not know this, but I'm really good friends with Brian McLaughlin, the
Yeah.
founder. And what happened is over the years, as our integration grew and our partnership grew, I saw what he was building on the back end. And what I was always most impressed with was the fact that integrations were at the top of mind when it came
Yeah.
to how do you make Redtail more valuable? You add more integrations so you get more tools working together. And guess what? They weren't charging for that. Like you guys weren't charging for additional integrations. Mobile Assistance integration isn't an add-on that's another $20 a month or something. It's just part of the relationship that we have with Redtail. It was a symbiotic thing, and it was not just like that with us. It was like that with all the companies that were integrating with you guys.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the things that just blew me away is like, I'm like, wait a minute, you're not charging customers for these extra integrations. And by the time, I know that, by getting purchased by Orion was a big shift for some, but I tell you that focus I can tell hasn't changed. The
No.
integration partners are still at the forefront of like, that's what makes it so valuable. So I love it.
Exactly, man. It's really, really cool. And this industry is really cool because it's got a bunch of people trying to figure out how to build the best thing. But there is very rarely like, I don't know what, like overextension. Like Mobile Assistant isn't planning on integrating financial planning anytime soon. You know what I mean? Like you're
Yeah.
not building a planner. You're not building a risk tool. We're not over here building, dictation. We're not over here building risk assessment. It's just a good way of doing business, in my opinion, is
Yeah.
building a really strong central product and then finding really strong partners that you can build and lift up and grow with you. That's beneficial to not just us as companies, but it's beneficial to you, the advisor who's sitting on this call, because everybody plays well, or we try to play well at least. Sometimes the ones and zeros don't always match up in a way that we want to, but we desperately want them to. So it's a
Yeah.
fun it's a really fun industry to be in.
Yeah, 100%. Now I
Yeah.
know that the dog made an appearance there briefly for a
Yes, it
minute.
did.
I kind of got a little ahead of myself,
That's okay.
but we might as well go on to that because it's a cool dog. I almost wanted just to keep him up there. It looks like Tucker, but
I love
Tucker
the
was the
dog.
original Redtail. I'm not sure if this is the original Redtail Tucker or if this was Jet. That
This
was
is
another one.
I can't remember if this is either of them or if it's a paid model.
That
Like
might be a paid model. All right.
Tucker was the OG, and then Jet is kind of a lunatic jerk. So we don't give that a Jet too many photo opportunities. But this was going back off of what I was saying before about what differentiates, your tech offerings, right? Like I said, like we're a CRM. If you want note taking, all the CRMs out there do note taking. If you want process management, most of the CRMs out there do process management, opportunity tracking, calendar syncing, like the functionality and the actual things that each CRM provider out there has is not very different. It looks different and might be slightly different functionality, but for the most part, it's all there. And so I like to focus on what we offer outside of that, whether it be those integrations that I talked about, whether it be the fact that we could talk about movies or we could talk about anything with anybody at any time. We love having fun. We love connecting with people, but we bust our butts to make sure that we are trying to give the best experience possible. Whether or not we always succeed or fall short, we're always putting in the effort, right? The amount of
Yep.
free support that we offer, whether it be our email support, phone support, whether it be webinars like this, or my favorite one, like if people are transitioning over from another CRM or from another platform or from a spreadsheet, like we do free imports. We don't charge a cent to import your data in. And I think that that's a really incredible thing as well. And then, of course, I mentioned the training and the fact that we go above and beyond just how to use the product. We really get into trying to make you better at building relationships, build efficiency in your practice with strategies as well. And I think that really sets us apart as a tech vendor. So many tech vendors are focused on like, here's how you use the product, and they have to be. But I love that we're in a position where we can do both.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And so I don't want to repeat myself here too much. So I'll make it really short. But again, it all comes back to the client experience team that,
Yeah.
you guys have built. That's one of the things that I know that Brian was always so proud of was that the client experience team and how fast they could get back to customers that had questions, be able to help them with their migrations, helping them with integrations and understanding them. If they didn't understand them, they would know where to go to get the right information to them. So yeah, amazing, amazing.
It's very cool. It's very fun. Oh, and then this is I forgot I threw this in here. If what I've been saying sounds like a bunch of like cuddly, nonsensical, we should connect with people and build relationships. Like, cool. I get that, man. I get that you got a busy time out there. You got a lot of work to do. You got a lot of numbers you got to be crunching. You got a lot of people you got to be calling. I get it, right? But the best part about growing up in this industry, Corey, is realizing that the opinions I've created are both not wrong, but also like backed up with
Data.
facts. Like
Yeah.
this is from a study. It's a Harvard Business Review study that came out in like 2015 or 2016, back when the experience part of the business relationship was really just starting to grow and become something different. But they found that clients who go from feeling highly satisfied to fully connected increase their customer value by 52%. That's
Wow.
crazy to me. Like
That's
I
crazy.
would I would venture a guess that most people on this call wish they had 100% of their book highly satisfied. Maybe some of you think you do, and that's awesome. And I support that, right? But to then fully connect with them emotionally, to be able to recognize that I am having a different experience, a more personal experience, something that feels more fulfilling to me. Like it builds that customer value, and customer value is all about client retention, which is 80% cheaper than client acquisition. It goes towards building a brand experience. It goes towards building people who go out and tell others about the experience they have. Like the value of connecting with people and building their confidence in the future, feeling a sense of belonging, feeling the ability to point out those little things that make who we are. Like Corey, you and I, we can always talk movies because that's something that's very, very personal to me. Now, you and I, we've worked very closely over the years, but maybe my advisor doesn't see me that much. Maybe my advisor doesn't care about movies. The least that somebody could do is make a note of that and ask me if I've seen any good movies lately. Like
Yeah.
the least that they can do is engage me on a thing that I love or your clients love that doesn't have anything to do with business, because
Yeah.
that is what builds that deeper. So I love this stat. It makes me feel very validated.
Yeah. Well, I think that what this does really, it really points to the importance of the CRM for those details. Because for those details, those minor details, like what you just mentioned, like the fact that you like movies, right? And like an advisor is busy, they've got 200 clients plus clients. Like, how do you possibly remember that? Well,
Right.
nobody's expecting advisors to have that kind of a memory that you're just going to remember all those details for your customers, like any clients. Totally get that. But this is where the CRM value comes in, that's where it has to live so that you don't forget it. And I tell you what, next time you have that next client interaction and you have that personal touch that gets added, I know for a fact that this graph is specifically because of that.
Yeah,
It's talking specifically about those personal interactions that make the client feel so much more important. I love it. I love it. Good
exactly.
stuff.
And the fun part is the stuff that we're going to be talking about, the integration, the efficiency, it will hopefully give you more time to focus on those types of things, to make those a priority, to bring those up and shore up that weak spot that you might be having. And it's all done through automation and through process and through tools like Mobile Assistant.
Well, thanks. And then, yes, in the detail, right? Is like
Absolutely.
how does an advisor go about capturing all the detail from client interactions without having to go within 15 minutes and sitting at a computer for a half an hour and typing all the details, right? Who has time to do that? And so that was your spot. Now it's mine. I'm gonna talk a little bit about Mobile Assistant for those that aren't really familiar with us. It's really simple. We're used by advisors to accurately capture the client interactions in a way that is accurate and replicatable. And that the integration with Redtail is the cherry on top. It's going through that process of using our service to be able to document that information. Well, we want to get it where it needs to go. And where it needs to go is within Redtail. And so what I'm going to do is kind of talk about one of the things I think is the most important. But before I do that, I love to throw in like the elephant fact. So this is the elephant fun fact number 165. They never forget, right? And that's, when people ask why the elephant, like you guys have, like that's been our brand ever since we got into this industry 14 years ago. It's the elephant is the image that never forgets. And so it really made a lot of sense to me when we created the brand, and we've had a lot of fun with it. We rebranded a couple years ago, but I tell you that when we were working with a marketing firm to really kind of redesign ourselves because we were stepping into some enterprise level spaces, we really felt like a rebrand was necessary. One of the things I said, I don't care really what we do, but the elephant has to remain. And so it stood the test of time.
I love the new logo, the way that it turns the ear into the chat bubble. Like that's slick. I just like that kind of stuff. It reminds me of like the personal logos that professional athletes get now, where
Yeah.
it's just cool, man. It's sleek, it's clean, and the elephant is, again, that taps into something childlike. It taps into something that's like universal. Like we all went to the zoo as kids. We all watched the same shows as kids. We all learned that elephants never forget. So I think that that's a big part of what has made this partnership successful.
Yeah, oh, the red-tailed dog and the blue elephant definitely has been good. So I touched on this a little bit earlier, Rick, at the very beginning, and there's a reason why I brought it up so early in the conversation is because I really do believe that we're at a time now especially in this industry where there's never been a more important like emphasis on what the data is that's getting put into the CRM and the importance of that data being good data. And what does it mean to be good data? In my opinion, that good data means it has a human in the loop part of the process to ensure that it's accurate. And so, we do have transcriptionists throughout the country. That's one of the things I'm most proud of in the 14 years at Mobile Assistant is we've ensured that the data is 99.6% accurate or better. And we've done that since the foundation, from the foundation of the company. And like, I think that has been really coming to the forefront of why it's so important for advisors. It's because if you're going to rely on the data to be able to run all these different technology tools, you better make sure it's accurate. And that's what we've been doing for a long, long time. We could go and talk about this slide for a long time, but a couple of the reasons why it matters, like from a compliance standpoint, knowing that the information that you're gathering is getting documented in a way that you can trust it is so important from a compliance standpoint. If you need to print off your mobile assistant notes and hand them to a compliance officer because something has come up that you need to be able to show all the client interactions, you're going to know that it's accurate, right? The decision making just that goes hand in hand with the accuracy. If the information's not accurate, how do you know that your decisions that you're making are really the right ones? And the productivity, it's just so inefficient to use any type of dictation service or to type your notes. When it comes down to it, it's all about productivity. Being able to keep your productivity high and accurate, that's what we specialize in. And the team communication is a great one. And that really kind of goes hand in hand with decision making. Like if you're communicating with your team specific activities or next steps, and you're doing it in a way that might not be efficient, might not be accurate, wow, the amount of time lost and the amount of mistakes that could be made are astronomical. And that's what we're trying to accomplish. And I think that's the reason why our technology was built the way it was over all these years.
Yeah.
From the foundation of the human being, add the technology to make it better for the customer experience. And then you end up with a product that everybody if these advisors, you guys can rely on it, you know it's accurate, and we make it really easy for you to get the information where it needs to go.
Absolutely. Going back to what we were talking about before, just the accuracy of the data, the context of the data is all picked up there. I think it's phenomenal.
Yeah. So really quick, I'm going to go through this one. So how do we do that? How do we accomplish that? So we've talked about this kind of high level, like how we are able to help advisors to accurately capture the data. But there's a couple things that I think are really important, which is that it's not just data, it's structured data. And I'm going to show everybody how to do that with our templates in a minute. And the enterprise level distribution, that's where ATM comes in, which is another one of our products that helps advisors and their organizations be able to create and customize templates, and not only do that, share them with the entire team. It was an innovation that made a huge difference for teams and replicating scale. And the accuracy, yes, do we have some AI that is in the background? We do. But we've taken a much different approach in that we've utilized AI to help our human transcriptionists that are all here in the States to become even more productive. Very different philosophy, and one I think that's really worked well for us. It's just made us incredibly scalable with the human transcriptionists that are out there working with us.
Oh yeah, hugely. AI as an assisting tool is what you want. You don't want it to be the main tool.
Yeah, well, you hear about that so much, not just in the context of dictation, but when advisors think about AI and they think about the threat to their livelihood, right?
Right.
It really is playing out that it's not a threat. It's a way of helping to just energize and power up your ability as an advisor using those tools. It's just going to make you that much more productive and that much more efficient. And that's a great way to look at it, so that it's not something that is threatening. It's something that actually is out there for you. It's a tool for you to use and just to help you make it better.
Absolutely.
So the products that we're talking about here that Mobile Assistant provides, so we have the mobile app. The mobile app is Talkit, and that's available on the iPhone, on the Android. It's a really easy way of interacting with us so that you can get the information from your short-term memory, speak your notes, and be able to have those notes eventually right into Redtail. ATM, I hit on really quickly, which is it's the ability to customize and distribute templates throughout a team. And then Connect It, we won't talk about too much today, but this is our open API product that we launched at the end of last year. And it's allowed organizations to pull the data from Mobile Assistant and put it where it needs to go into the CRM, into whatever technology platforms that they have. And so this is what it looks like. And so one of the things, I don't know if there are any LPL advisors on here, but you'll notice there's a couple forms that are specific to that broker dealer, and that's the CRS and the F450. I love to put them in here just because it's become a really great opportunity for advisors to have a compliance form that they have to document and make sure that they're going to get all that information after every client annual review, for instance, with the F450. And how do you make sure you're going to capture all that important data and not forget anything? Well, you can, like LPL advisors have an F450 form that's preloaded on Mobile Assistance app, and it has all the questions that they need to answer for that specific type of documentation. And so the point is like you can have a different template with different types of meetings, and you can have the questions that have to be answered after every one of those meetings, and it's built into the app, so you're not going to let anything slip through the cracks. Now, what does it look like? I like to show a quick video of what it looks like in action because I think it's more fun to show. And so navigating into the Talk It app and going to the Assistant tab is where you can select a template. And when you select that template, here are the list of questions that you scroll through, and you say the question, you answer it. Okay. So what we've done here is we've created a technology that's allowed for a repeatable templated process through dictation. So for advisors that have never used dictation before, it's not all that easy to like just pick up a phone and remember everything and speak your notes. So that's why we created the templates. We did it in a way to try to give advisors a path so that there's a guide through the process. So now it's like, you don't have to remember everything. Here's an annual review. Here are the questions. Say the question, answer it. And you do that enough times, it becomes second nature. But it's a really great way to get started with dictation is follow the templated process. Everything comes back. It's in that structure. The data is structured and repeated for every type of meeting that they have.
It's like putting bumpers up when you're bowling, like
That's a great way to put it. Yes.
But not in a bad way, right? Not in a, oh, I need, like, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you take a shortcut? Why wouldn't you give yourself a little mobile assistant, if you will, to help ask you the questions that they are going to be taking notes on? Like, why wouldn't you do that? And the fact that you put those in there, like the fact that we work in an industry that is so based on repetition, based on repetition over and over again. So the fact that you have templates built in here, Redtail has all sorts of different templates for things even beyond this. It just helps. It helps systematize everything.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a great way to put it, that it systematizes, and my big word is that it standardizes the note-taking process. That's hard to say that, like say that twice, right?
I know, right?
Yeah, but that was the whole concept behind the templates, and it's really proven out. I mean, half of all the dictation that comes through Mobile Assistant today is utilizing templates. And so it's one of the best ways to know if a technology that you've developed actually is really working for advisors. Well, that's a great use case. It's like half of all advisors out there are using templates now to do their dictation. And so it was definitely proved to us that, hey, this is working, and it really does make a difference. And so this is the ATM. So the ATM is a web-based platform. So instead of having to navigate creating and customizing templates on your phone, which isn't the easiest thing to do sometimes, right? We made a web-based version of a template library. And what this allows advisors to do is log in and be able to customize your templates and share them out with the team. Whether your team is composed of 2 different advisors or 50, we can have it set up so that any template that's created for that specific team will be distributed out into the Talk It mobile app through this web-based platform. It was really a great way for us to be able to provide our service as an enterprise tool. It was definitely one of those things that was driven by customers, because we were asked by organizations. Hey, this is great. You've got templates available for the individual advisor. What if we want to create a template and make it really easy for everybody? And we're going to create a template for like every annual review that has the same questions, and we want everyone to follow that standard process. And so that was the reason for it. And that's why we developed it. And it's made a big difference for all the teams out there.
I love that it's web based now too. Like this is super cool. The stuff that you're putting in, making it something that can be rolled out for everybody. Just good stuff.
And I always like to end with our human transcriptionist. I mean, really, this I started it, and I'll end the conversation with this, which is it all boils down to the human in the loop part of the process. They know your terminology. They are experts in dictation and transcription, and so they do an amazing job. Every acronym that you're going to use, it's going to come back and it's going to be right. We have a lot of pride in our staff, and I think they take a lot of pride in their work because they know advisors count on them to make sure they get it right.
Yeah.
And so it's a really important part of our process that I love being able to have these kind of webinars to talk about it, because I tell you, you'd be amazed, Rick. I guarantee you there are customers at Mobile Assistant that just think we have really, really accurate like AI like transcription. And that's not the only piece of it. The people that behind the scenes that are doing the work are what make it really, really special. So
Absolutely, man. Same here. It's this is a people game. It's a team
yeah.
game.
Yeah. So real quick, I'm going to show three different ways that these notes actually are delivered to Redtail. Because at the end of the day, the reason why you and I are on this call today is because of what we do together and how the integration actually works. And so,
Absolutely.
and so the way that advisors are using us is they're getting done with the client interaction, and they're typically dictating two different notes. They're dictating a note that's going to go right to the contact record, and then they're going to dictate an activity. And yes, you can have an activity designated in Redtail using Mobile Assistant. And it's as simple as saying and spelling the client name. If you do that and you speak your notes from that client interaction, we're going to deliver that note and all that data into the contact record. In this example, for Mr. Mickey Mouse, right? Now, by doing that same process, only saying and spelling the client name and then stating, make this an activity, we're going to put the note as an activity in the things to do today section right on the dashboard. So advisors will use us to dictate the first note, goes into the contact record. The second note is next steps, action items that need to happen from that interaction. It's a way of interacting and be able to communicate with your staff and do it in a way that you can do it right after the note that you had delivered into the contact record. You're going to be able to make an activity out of it just by saying, make this an activity. Now, one of the places that we have put kind of a safety zone, if you will, in Redtail. And so this is called Mobile Assistant Messages. It's right on the bottom of the dashboard. And we've created this in case you forget to dictate a client name, or maybe you dictate a client name and we couldn't find it, or we found two of them. Well, we're not going to just guess at where the notes should be delivered. We're going to put it here. And this is where you're going to be able to go in and create an activity from it, a note. You can do anything you want with this note and make some edits to it. And you can get it where it needs to go. But we will get it into Redtail, so you don't have to worry that something you dictated isn't going to show up in the CRM. It all gets in here. It's just whether it goes in as a note or as an activity or in this generic landing area. And this is a great way to kind of wrap things up, Rick, is I love talking about what's next. We have had our integration for so many years with Redtail that's worked so well. We've made some great improvements. We added the ability to add an activity a few years ago, but the next step in our integration, I can't wait for, because it's going to be so great, because it's going to be the change in our integration so that Redtail is going to be utilizing our new connected product, which is our open API. And so even though the first edition of this, which I call phase one, is basically going to replicate the way the integration works today, it is going to open it up so that we can do so many amazing things, because the ability for Redtail to be able to pull the data and be able to kick off workflows or be able to like create activities, there are going to be a lot of really interesting scenarios and different use cases for what we can do. And so I know you've got a lot of ideas, Rick, about how we can make it better. One of the things that I want to mention to everybody on this call today is please send at support@mobileassistant.us. Send us any ideas you have for how to make this integration better. Are you already a user of Mobile Assistant and Redtail? We would love to hear from you and hear what your pain points are and maybe how we can really build an integration to take it to the next level. So I want to open that up. Just please give us the input. That's how we drive the integrations and innovations. It's from the customers of ours.
Honestly, you're absolutely right, because as much as we're trying to think of ways to do it, we're going to miss something. We're going to forget something. We're not going to remember something. And we might get some wacky responses. I'd like for Mobile Assistant to start my car. And listen, not everything is going to get worked out here, but like sometimes I get a piece of client feedback and it sparks something in me. And it's like, how can we make that happen? That sounds impossible, but is it? And it just is. We try to make it as collaborative as possible. Nobody knows your business better than you. So if you can give us any feedback on how we can make this work better for what you're doing, like Corey said, let us know.
Yeah. And I tell you what, Rick, I've had a lot of meetings with consultants that are specific for building Redtail workflows and helping organizations to just use the Redtail CRM better. And I've had multiple meetings with those consultants, and I'm getting so many great ideas, because those are the people that are out there working with offices that know like really what some of the pain points are. And so we're doing a lot of work on our end to try to gather that information. But at the end of the day, we want to hear from customers. We want to hear from people that are actively using it on a daily basis to find out that maybe there's something, like to your point, Rick, maybe there's something we missed, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Now, one of the things that Redtail did a really great job of, they made it super easy to try our service. All you have to do is navigate on the dashboard down where it says Mobile Assistant Messages. You click on free trial, it'll populate your information. You're going to get an email from us. You download our app, and the integration just works. It makes it so simple to sign up. You can go to our website and learn a lot more about us, but I tell you, signing up for a free trial in here in Redtail is so easy. Redtail has made it incredibly easy. They even fill out your information for you. And so one of the things that I've done in the last month is we did add a new promo, and it's super simple and it's not big money, but I tell you what, it's kind of fun. You're going to get a $10 Amazon gift card from Mobile Assistant if you sign up for the trial and you use us for one dictation. That's it. We want you to try it. We want you to download it. We want you to try the service, because once you do it, we know you're going to be hooked and you're going to love it. And so that's a new promo we've got, so you can check that out. We've got an additional $100 we take off the annual, just because you're a Redtail user and we love our Redtail partner. So a lot of good stuff. You can find out more at mobileassistant.us.
Yeah, man, I love that. I definitely think you should check it out. The last thing that I'll put out here is going back to that training and education that we offer. If you're a Redtail CRM user, sign up for our CRM checkup. For anybody who's ever had that thought in their head of, I don't know what I don't know, or I think I'm only using 5% of the CRM. This is a great self-guided kind of assessment for you to take. It's also a great self-guided assessment that gets connected to our trainers, so that we can actually work with you, see where you're at, see what your level's at, and see where we can bring you up to the next level. I think it's incredibly valuable for existing users. So yeah, give it a look, but you definitely should be, there's no excuse to not be looking at ways to systematize and automate more and more and more. Like, it's 2024. We live in the future now. I literally can carry around a little computer in my hand that has like access to all of human knowledge, for better or worse, maybe human stupidity as well. So there's no excuse to be typing in notes anymore. Like, what are we, cavemen? Cavemen type notes. So we can do better than that, I think.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Well, the QR codes, you can download the app right from the QR codes. We will make this available for anybody that might have missed this webinar. We're going to throw it on recording. We'll get it out there. I'm going to stop the share, but I want to open it up. I want to bring on our client experience manager, Kara, and I want her to give us some questions. I don't think there's really much that could be thrown at you or I, Rick, that we probably couldn't answer when it comes to this integration, but maybe, I don't know, who knows? Maybe it'll be something new today. Hi, Kara.
We'll see. Kara's been doing a good job managing the Q&A as it's been coming.
We've had some good ones come in. So
I've been seeing some come in. It's been great.
yeah, yeah. In fact, let's just start off with the very first question that came through, which was a great question. So Kelly asked, when you say mobile assistant client services can help us build templates, what does that mean?
Oh, great question. So it
Yeah.
means that you know this firsthand, Kara, because you lead up our client experience team. But advisors a lot of times will ask us, hey, like I really am interested in the templates, but not really sure what questions to put in there. And like, how do I get started, right? Well, Kara specifically has worked with thousands of advisors building templates, so she knows what works. She knows what annual review questions are really important to have in there. She knows what is important after a phone call to have in a phone call template. So there's a lot of dictation templates that we've already done the work to design. And so you don't have to start from scratch. If you contact us and get in touch with Kara here through our client experience team, she's going to be able to show you ones that are already done, like that you can just have loaded right into your account. And so there's a lot of work that you don't have to do. Let's put it that way, from our experience of working with advisors and understanding what works. Kara, that was almost a good question for you. Would you want to add anything to that question?
Yeah, quickly, I would say what I usually do if someone wants to talk about building templates is I kind of interview them and I almost make them role play with me to go through a pretend meeting with a certain type of meeting, right? Prospect meeting is usually very different than a client review. So we go through a little bit of a dummy session and then I come up with a good outline and then we tweak it as we go.
Love it.
It's kind of my favorite part of my job, actually. So.
Yeah.
We just had another good question too. Can an assistant set up for an advisor? I'm assuming Amy means, can an assistant set up the trial or the account for an advisor?
Yeah, so what's important is if whoever had asked that is looking to set up a mobile assistant account for the advisor that owns the Redtail database, right? So within that, the notes to go into Redtail, they go into one Redtail database. If the advisor is the one that is the account owner there, that's the person that has to sign up for the trial. Now, like pretty easy to walk through how you go about doing that. Go to that mobile assistant messages section and click on free trial. But it's really important that the person that's dictating, that's their CRM, that's their Redtail CRM. The assistants a lot of times have access to the CRM, to the Redtail CRM, but from an admin rights, they're not going to be the main account holder. So definitely have the person that's going to be using mobile assistant and having the notes go into Redtail needs to be their Redtail account that they sign up with.
Correct. What happens if you have several advisors?
Great. Yep. Every advisor that's going to use mobile assistant is going to need their own account. And so separate account from a compliance standpoint, all the notes are kept separate, the data is kept separate, and they get inserted into whichever database we hook up to with the Redtail account that advisor has. So
makes sense.
Good question.
Another quick one from our friend Amber. She works with Ed Prince. She wanted to follow up and see if mobile assistant is looking to add some sort of meeting notes taking outside of templates. I think Amber's probably referring to more of an AI tool.
Oh, great question.
I think, yeah, maybe just like leaving the phone open while it's listening to the meeting is what I'm guessing.
Yeah, one of the things that I think is really important is that because mobile assistant is specifically used for the post-meeting follow-up from the advisor, right? That's a unique set of data that is very different from setting a phone down and having it just do a voice to text translation of a conversation. Because I think it's incredibly important that advisors meet with their clients, and then when they're done with that meeting, we get their perspective. Because at the end of the day, when you talk about the importance of the data that gets put into Redtail, it's the perspective from the advisor. It's the opportunities that they're seeing. It's their interpretation of that meeting. And so I really am, I'm pretty strongly in the camp that that's what mobile assistant really needs to be used for. Like that's what makes it so valuable for the advisor, that data that goes in. It's not the voice to text verbatim transcription. It's the contextual data that gets put in. So
there is and that's a good question or a good answer for whether or not mobile assistant is doing that. I know that there are other softwares out there and other things that are trying to do that, where it's like record and summarize your meeting notes. And that's
Yeah.
cool. That's really slick. But the two biggest things, again, you want to focus on is number one, is this a FINRA and SEC compliant financial industry approved tool? And number two, again, like, what is it, what is it summarizing? Is it focusing on the right things? To put that context into the hands of a machine, it's a little dicey. It's a little dicey right now as we're still trying to figure it all out. So I would always express caution where it's like, I think that that's an amazing idea. And I think at some point down the line, we are going to get to that. But just tread carefully. Think about it if you were on the Oregon Trail, right? You don't want to just start kicking up rocks. You don't want to get snake bit. Take your time, tread carefully, and just it's a cool time to explore for sure. But be careful while you explore.
Well, and one of the things to keep in mind is that as these AI tools are emerging and there's so many more advancements in what the technology can do if it's pointed at the right data. We're always, as a company, going to look at how we can add value to our customers. And one of the things that will definitely be adding value in the future would be, what if we had the ability to just do a summary to be able to report back the opportunities that we could pull out of the data from all the dictation that's been done, right? And so there's going to be those types of opportunities in the future that, as I can't sit here right now and promise that we're going to have something next month, but I can tell you we're always going to look at how we can add value. And if that means taking some technology and layering it on top of the data that we protect, then everybody wins. Then we're able to provide more value. The advisor knows the data is protected, and we use a tool that's safe, that gets the information where it needs to go. So.
Okay. Corey, there were a couple more questions that came in. If it's okay with everyone, I know we're at the top of our time. I'm just going to go ahead and contact those people. I will have your contact information from being an attendee here. So Sherry, Amy, I'll call you guys and answer your questions on the phone.
Yeah, that's great, Kara. Thanks. Yeah, we are just past the top of the hour. So Rick, thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun. It's crazy that an hour isn't enough. I could have spent 3 hours talking to you.
We could marathon this. We could do commentary on Deadpool and Wolverine. We could do all sorts of stuff. But yeah, sadly, people have things to do.
They do. Yes.
It's all good. And it's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me as always. I love talking shop with you.
Thanks, Rick. Thanks, Kara. And thanks everybody that hung in there for the entire hour with us. Really appreciate it. And have a great rest of your week. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Adios.